First of all, this has been the biggest challenge I've ever been asked to do. Talk to a bunch of women. You know, but I've been doing my talks to tour groups over 20 years. And that's easy because it's on a format where I just explain the Métis culture, the history, and how we survived on the land, the things we ate, the way we worked, all these kind of things. So that's easy to talk about. But what she wants me to do goes right against our principles. We were brought up, first of all, I wasn't born here, like she said. I actually was born in Cumberland House, Saskatchewan. It's the first inland post ever built in Canada. And mostly our community is made up of Scottish and Cree half-breeds. And so that's where I talk about. I usually talk about where I'm coming from. And but today, she wants me to talk about living in the north. I actually came here when I was 14 to find a job because my sister Lily was already married here. And so I worked at the Churchill Hotel for the first year. And it was tough, coming into a small community. I got off the train with a pack sack on my back because I just come from a lumber camp in Cumberland, McDonald's Bay. So I had men's clothes on, and I had my hair up in a ponytail. And I got off the train, and my God, I hated Churchill. Right from the get-go. What the hell? I come from bush country. Heavy forestry, you know, and a lot of wildlife. I stepped off the train, it was all gravel. The trees you see here in town now weren't here. It was all gravel and rock. And I thought to myself, very clearly, I remember this. First paycheck, I'm getting the hell out of here. And here I am, 58 years later, I'm still here. All because I fell in love with a little Frenchman that wouldn't leave me alone. I tried ditching him, but he's still with me after 53 years. So obviously it was the right thing to do. But anyway, it didn't take me long to accept Churchill as my home, especially because I got stuck here. For the simple fact I learned about charge accounts. Bill Black used to have a little shop here. Beautiful. Oh, men's clothes, shoes of all kinds. And then this fad hit. There was the crinolines, the heavy felt skirts with the poodles on them. You had to have 3 crinolines to hold that skirt up, because it was pretty heavy. And then there was the bobby socks, and sandal Oxfords. Angora sweaters and the pom-poms, silk scarves for your ponytail. Heck, I got really hooked into that stuff. In so deep that I couldn't go home. I had to pay off my bill. And by that time, and also we were trained that when you left home, the first chance you get, you leave the nest, you go and find a living, and especially you find a man, start a family. That's the only thing drilled into our heads, that was your biggest achievement in life. So there was no such thing as becoming an Indian chief or a doctor. So of course, that's what I did. And you're also sort of geared to sending money home. You're actually paying back your family for having fed and supported you all your life. So you would try to outdo each other. I come from a family of 12. There's only 4 of us left. I'm the oldest. They call me the new matriarch now. But that's only because they want to share their troubles with me. I'm supposed to know all and, you know, solve all. But it doesn't work that way. Anyway, I get off track sometime. After all, I'm only over 70 now. You have to, you know, keep that in mind. So I'll just leave it at that. But then things settled in, and Churchill started to feel like home. And of course I was able to receive gifts from hunters of the food that I craved, which I still do today. But for some reason, the youth have forgotten about the elders. The elders still have those yearnings for the old food that we lived on. We always went to the trap line for a month in March. And this was a time, almost starving. Because when you're living off the land, there's certain food for certain seasons. And we had to learn to sort of preserve all these things for as long as we could stretch them out. Not just for the family, but for the whole community, because we always shared. And so, by March, when we go out to the trap line, which should be anywhere from a day to a 3-day walk from the island, we would be at our really lowest ebb of health. And so we were always happy. That was like a big vacation. This was a time to go out there and pig out. And what we ate the most, of course, during the trapping season was the muskrat and beaver. And even today I crave these things. But you know, there was a younger guy gave me a couple of muskrats from up north here. I didn't like them. They have a different taste because they're on a different diet. So I still crave those kind of foods, like sturgeon and of course the beaver. And this was the time to put on the pounds. You see, I was taught to be that bigger was the better. The bigger you were and the tougher you were, well, you were the boss. And even the men respected bigger women. In fact, there was a thing I often heard, is that skinny women didn't have a hope in hell of ever having a husband of their own. Because they were considered handicapped for 3 reasons. First of all, you didn't know how long they would survive, in this harsh environment. And then they were too skinny to have babies one after another, which people were doing to populate the country. That would have killed them. But the worst thing about them was they weren't even very cuddly. The men always went for those big hot women to keep them warm all winter. See, everybody lived in tents and drafty cabins, so they came in handy. But those women were always well respected and became like, there's 3 groups that the community looked after: the elders, the infirm people, and the skinny women. They always got fed first. But they also made handy handmaidens for other women that had too many kids to cope with. They even adopted some of them, and raised them as their own. That's why we're never allowed to marry anyone up to our 3rd cousin. Because being in a close-knit community like that, you never know, you might be marrying a brother. Because there was no such thing as having an official adoption where you signed anything. Either a relative or a woman like that would just take them and raise them without telling anyone. So that's what that rule was about. And then, so all these things that I have learned through my life to cope with things, to use what you have. My daughter will probably say I'm a hoarder, but in honest truth, if I keep something long enough, somebody needs something like that and could use it. Well, yeah, I'm running out of room. Therefore, I created those shelving units at Heritage Hall, so I could stash a whole bunch of it there and leave it to the community to look after. But, it's waste not, want not. and there's always somebody that needs that item. And so that's why I'm like I am. I save things and give it away. And I've also given my soul to this community. For years, I worked to try and keep the children, keep Christmas in their heart. I didn't like to see children going without a present at Christmas time, without a big party, all that kind of thing. So I kept it going for 25 years. And I enjoyed it because we just loved to see those little children bawling with Santa all the time. Got to the point that some of the older people having babies now, having grandchildren even, remember those days, you know. They'd be just so, you could just see the joy in their little smiles. So that was worth it. So anyway, I think the biggest job a mother has to do is, no matter how bad we are, and I mean, we're not all saints. You know, we all go through that teenage years, and you know, you're defiant against the parents, all that kind of stuff. But eventually you have to grow up because you have children, and they watch you, and they see what you do and how you do it. And sometimes it was a little rough on those teachers. I would go stomping in there if I thought they were being abused. But you know, those are my kids, and I get involved. And some people used to get, you know, upset about that. But you know, you can only train them up to a line, and then you have to let them go, and hope that you did do your best. And in some cases, I noticed in Churchill, some of those youngsters that we used to make so happy have not kept this up with their children. And these children are forever looking for some kind of mischief, which can sometimes be hurtful. So I think that's the biggest job that we have. But also to respect each other's cultures. This is something that I've learned to do. Because as a child, my grandpa, Dougal Mackenzie, actually was a little prejudicial against the Indians, and his mother was one, like his grandmother was one, I should say. And so he made us feel like we were superior to the real, true Indian, the Crees, that our ancestors, the Mackenzies and the Macaulays that married into. So that was ridiculous. It didn't take long for us to realize that was a lie. And so through the years, especially the last 20 years, talking to all those people all over the world, all different nationalities, incredible how similar we are. And it's so simple. We all need to be understood, respected, and loved. And it is so simple. There's only one little group that really upset me. It was a bunch of Italian tourists. And it was, as soon as I first started doing my talks, it was the basement of the Anglican church, actually. And it was packed in there. There was two groups, the nice group and the Italian group. There was only 8 of them. So they came and sat right up front, like just taking over, you know. They had their cameras and everything. And only the interpreter spoke English. And all those 6 guys couldn't speak a word of English. So here I started off doing my talk, you know, the culture talk. And every sentence I had to stop and wait for this woman to interpret. And I could see all the rest of the group was starting to squirm, you know. So anyway, and I said another thing. And it was something to do with the trap lines, right? And the furs, they were dead against furs. And so I said a sentence about the trapping, you know, about the trading and everything. This was way in the old days. And the woman started interpreting. And she went on and on and on and on. I knew damn well that it couldn't have been what I said. Because she was like adding a whole bunch of stuff to it, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. But anyway, all of a sudden, all the guys stood up, put on their pack sacks, took their cameras, and they all stomped out, up the stairs and out. And everybody else started clapping. Thank God you got rid of those people. I said, I don't know what I did, but I'm happy too. That was the funniest thing. I don't know, I imagine the Italians are no different than us, but that group definitely was. So I didn't make an impression on them. You know, I forgot to ask somebody to keep us time on me, because I don't want to talk too long, bore anybody. But if there's any questions as to anything you really want to know, hey, right off the thing, you know, I've been flying under the radar all my life anyway. I thought I was doing pretty damn good. And then, of course, somebody decided to give me the Order of Manitoba. Well, damn, I'm having a hard time staying under the radar now. Every time Dick and his dog wants to interview me, it's ridiculous. You know, I hate talking on the phone anyway. You know, even my own kids, one or two of them anyway, they phone up and I say, okay, state what you want done, or what do you need? I haven't got time to sit here. I have one daughter that speaks to me for 2.5, 3 hours, and I'm switching ears, you know? And then I just noticed the other day, I have a speaker on my phone. I hate any kind of, you know, like the internet, cell phones, all that stuff. I don't touch that. But thank God it's here because Bobby does everything for me. And he takes my orders and he sends out my emails and answers my emails, stuff like that. So in a way I can't really knock it. But I don't want to touch it myself. I tried 2 or 3 times when they first came out, and I screwed it up so bad that I said, I'll never touch it again. And anyway, I also thought, you know, someday they're going to need some of us old people that know how to read and write and actually add, subtract, and divide, multiply by hand, and can teach the children. Because I honestly believe that one day this whole internet thing was going to go down the tubes. Okay? And you know, I was so happy. When it happened, the BlackBerry went dead for a week or so. And I thought, wow, see, that's what I told you is going to happen. Now you're going to need us old folks to teach you the way. But now, unfortunately, it came back on. It's getting worse, I guess. But I seriously try to stay, you know, off the radar, and but if people keep steering people my way, that is such a cute baby. I just gobble her up. Anyway, I guess that's pretty much what I have to offer you, because you all know we all have the same struggles. But we just keep trying our best. And especially try to be a good example to the young girls. I always try to make those young girls feel good. You know, no matter how small or big you are, be proud of who you are. You know, and just do the best you can. Thank you for having me.